So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. Now, next up on the docket, bro, we got a two-headed giant discovered in Patagonia. Oh yeah. So we're gonna get right into it. Waste no time. If you're new, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, join the fam, and let's learn something.
Semir Osmanagic, a Bosnian-American businessman now based in Houston, Texas, has long claimed that a particular and uncannily angled hill, long presumed as a natural formation, is actually the largest human-made ancient pyramid on Earth. The claims have predictably been met with hostility by those in the academic world who protect modern paradigm.
Hey, it's getting to the point where, bro, I can't even ride past any type of mountain or anything that possibly could look like this around here. I'm automatically assuming or thinking in my mind, I wonder if they've went in there and tried to see and search and see what's up under there or what's inside or could that possibly be something we need to look into? Like, it's done unplugged me from the Matrix. Let's just say that.
By those in the academic world who protect modern paradigm. His work has also been heavily criticized, not only as a hoax, but damaging to the other areas of Bosnia which are authentic and mainstream accepted ruins. However, regardless of these hostilities, Semir has continued his research and promotion of the area as a tourist attraction. Furthermore, what he has since discovered from numerous excavations is curious, clearly artificial, and massive ancient activities now hidden beneath several meters of strata. Not only have these discoveries of ancient masonry corroborated his ancient claim, but there is also evidence to suggest that incredible efforts were made to divert and control the flow of local water systems, channeling them into and beneath the structure. Regardless of these discoveries, mainstream sources continue to dismiss his claims, and indeed further supporting discoveries, continuing to retain a position of complete denial, claiming that, quote, there is no evidence that they were shaped by human construction. The European Association of Archaeologists has condemned the so-called Bosnian pyramids as a cruel hoax, along with various other scholars, end quote. There are others, however, who have looked into the research and indeed Semir's efforts in depth, and from this have come to realize that there is much about this curious hill still to be unraveled, and regardless of the skeptics' unrelenting hostility to said claims, they have discovered something rather extraordinary. According to radiocarbon dating, done on an artificially constructed tunnel which penetrates the pyramidal feature, if accepted by mainstream academics, they would also have to be dated at over 32,000 years old. Could this be the reason for such hostilities in regard to fully exploring the site? The tunnels found in Ravni Park II have been carbon dated by the Archaeological Park Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation. We have ourselves in the past explored the casing stones upon the Great Pyramids of Giza. These stones, clearly of a much younger age than the stone in which they are now preserving. Severe erosion upon these earlier stones, we feel, may also be indicative of a similar age to that found at the Bosnian site. Semir commented on the latest find by stating, quote, according to the results of the examination of stalagmites found in the new tunnels, we discovered an antiquity of 26,200 years old. It means that these entrances and tunnels, which until now have remained hidden from the public, go deep into the past of the region. He continued, when we add the time needed to prepare the base for the creation of stalagmites and corrections for calibrated age to the radiocarbon age, we arrive at about 32,000 years. This is exactly the age of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun and the underground tunnels of Ravni, and they are all part of the same culture, concluded Osmanagic, speaking to Dnevni Avaz. These discoveries, along with Semir's earlier work, regardless of the skepticism which predictably surrounds the site, we find highly compelling.
Dang.
During our research, we have stumbled across countless legends and accounts from history which tell of ancient giants. Not only legends, but photographic evidence, and an equal amount of initial newspaper reports of their discovery. This often accompanied with the mention of the Smithsonian Institute's insatiable interest in such finds, and then an inevitable erasure of said finds from future research. Rarely has an ancient giant been allegedly found, with the remains seemingly slipping the net of said institute's attention, making it into mainstream research and an ally's collection before the Smithsonian was able to make said discovery vanish from history. Capua being one of these particular finds, which not only matches the initial claims, but has remained in mainstream historical research. Tales of a two-headed, 11-foot-tall giant are not only corroborated by photographic evidence, but the actual mummified corpse of the giant himself. The initial discovery of this incredible being was made back in 1673. An ogre, or two-headed giant, is said to have assaulted a party of Spanish sailors, who fortunately overcame said giant with cunning. After trapping the giant, the sailors planned on killing it, fearing repercussions if released. The cause of the giant's death, however, has long been debated, but what cannot be denied is the astonishing remains which eventually made their way to London.
So is this it right here? And if so, where, what museum, what place is this being held in? Because I'm gonna type it in, see if I can find it. But I want to make sure, because didn't they say 11-foot, two-headed, 11-foot giant? I can't. Let me go back.
Which not only matches the initial claims, but has remained in mainstream historical research. Tales of a two-headed, 11-foot-tall giant are not only corroborated by photographic evidence, but the actual mummified corpse of the giant himself. The initial discovery.
So we have the actual mummified corpse somewhere, and which looks to be like in a protective casing somewhere. It could be a museum. I can't really tell by the background, but it looks to be a museum, possibly. So we have this somewhere. Why isn't this being talked about if we do?
Of this incredible being was made back in 1673. An ogre, or two-headed giant, is said to have assaulted a party of Spanish sailors, who fortunately overcame said giant with cunning. After trapping the giant, the sailors planned on killing it, fearing repercussions if released. The cause of the giant's death, however, has long been debated, but what cannot be denied is the astonishing remains which eventually made their way to London.
I was
The
in
mummy
London.
then vanishes from the history books for nearly 400 years, reappearing in 1914 on the shores of the Burnbeck Harbor in the UK. The mummy inevitably became an extremely popular attraction, with people traveling from thousands of miles away to come and peer at this once monstrous two-headed giant.
Wait a minute. So why has this been kept? I ain't gonna necessarily say it's been kept from us, but it hasn't been like widely known. That's something that should be in the history books. Now, mind you, I did fall asleep in a few history classes. It wasn't as intriguing back then as it is today. But I don't recall ever speaking about a two-headed giant. Did y'all? Was it in y'all's history books? Because that right there, we've been talking about little people and we've been talking about giants in a lot of these research videos. Never once anybody bring this up or say it was in someone's possession in London. Nothing. I need more information on that, bro. That's proof right there.
Miles away, the Burnbeck.
I want to go back to where they talked about what happened to the corpse. What happened to the mummified two-headed giant right here.
What cannot be denied is the astonishing remains which eventually made their way to London. The mummy then vanishes from the history books for nearly 400 years,
Why?
reappearing in 1914 on the shores of the Burnbeck Harbor in the UK. The mummy inevitably became an extremely popular attraction, with people traveling from thousands of miles away to come and peer at this once monstrous two-headed giant. It remained in the public eye until 1959, a rare exhibit which escaped the clutches of those who would wish to hide it, with many photographs and other research projects allowed to be undertaken on the giant's remains by Lord Howard. This incredible giant, thanks to the Lord's dedication to said curiosity, remains in existence within the public's domain, an undeniable verification of a lost race of giants, which we have long claimed to have had first-hand experience of in their past discovery.
11
A
foot.
magnificent 3-meter-tall mummified corpse of an ancient giant does indeed exist, and due to its age and primitive technologies available to said claimed sailors, when initially discovered, the possibility of it being an elaborate stitched-together hoax has been seemingly debunked, but also ignored by mainstream media due to the controversial nature of said finds. Who was Captois? Was he part of a race of beings in Patagonia, a race we have merely seen these remains of? Is the corpse authentic? If not, how is he constructed to such an astonishing detail so far back in history?
Right.
Captois is undoubtedly highly compelling.
Why would they want to suppress that information? I don't understand that. And then when they can't suppress it, they start throwing things at it to make you think, this ain't possible. This ain't real. This is a hoax. Somebody designed this. Blah, 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 blah. Why? Because that's always been in the back of my mind when we talk about giants or something like that. It's always that possibility, and you really didn't have much proof. You had skulls, but the skulls, you know what I mean, were a little bigger than our head, but not much. So you're like, maybe not. You expect it to be astronomically bigger than us in proportion size, but it's not. But now here you had, I don't know if you still have because the information was a little choppy, but you had in your possession somewhere in London the actual mummified corpse to prove that 11 footers was just roaming the earth. Now, if they had the strength to match, then that makes sense for a lot of these big, you know what I mean? Things that was sat on top, that was formed, and you're like, how did that get up there? How did these big stones get moved and stuff like that? If you had 11 footers with massive strength walking around, a lot of answers to a lot of the questions we have could be solved. Wow.
The Space Research Institute at the Russian Academy of Sciences recently published a series of photographs taken by the Venera probe over 30 years ago on the surface of our closest neighbor, Venus. The photos, according to Leonid Ksanformality, present evidence of living organisms upon Venus, one of the most inhospitable places for human life in the solar system. The second planet from the sun, it's believed to have once been Earth-like, although the constant temperature there now is around 480 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead, even hotter than Mercury, which is tremendously closer to our sun. According to Ksanformality, who is Doctor of Physical and Mathematical Science for the Institute of Space Research, the images reveal the movement of extremely strange objects on the surface of Venus. Predictably, NASA, along with many other institutes of research, have attempted to debunk his discovery, stating that the objects are nothing more than a lens cap and noise generated by the second-hand pictures, claiming that some of the objects are not present in the original images. Ksanformality believes that in the images, a scorpion-shaped creature, a disc-shaped object, and a black object are visible moving in front of the onboard camera of the Venera 13. Quoting Ksanformality in an article for the Russian journal Solar System Research magazine, they all just emerge, fluctuate, and then disappear. What if we forget about the currently held theory regarding the non-existence of life on Venus and boldly suggest that these objects, these morphological features, captured within these images could allow us to say that they are indeed living." End quote. Scientists have not ruled out that once, in the very distant past, Venus might have supported life in a time when the planet had giant oceans before the greenhouse effect created the temperatures that rule over the planet today. However, they firmly refute the possibility of living creatures alive on the planet's surface today. As Ivan, writer over at Ancient Origins, eloquently put it, the problem with science and scholars in search for extraterrestrial life is that mankind believes that for life to exist elsewhere in the solar system or universe, a planet should have similar climate and conditions to those of Earth. End quote.
Now that's something we gotta stop doing, right? And I get in the habit of doing that as well, thinking that their conditions to have life on those planets have to mirror ours. You know what I mean? I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I gotta get out of the habit of thinking that, because we've adapted to our planet. You know what I mean? So they could do the same to theirs. The conditions that we may not be able to survive in, maybe they can. Just like an animal adapts and we adapt, they could adapt to their environment. Same way we do. So that's just another way to look at it. I ain't saying that's necessarily the end all be all, that's what it is, but no, it's a possibility to think about. Maybe there is life at some of these places that we don't think are like our planet, so life can't necessarily be there. No, they may be able to survive in those conditions.
In support of his argument, and in staunch defiance of the rigidly held views upon the environment needed to sustain life, a reality discovered in 1977. Hydrothermal vents deep within our oceans, which belch steam from deep within the Earth's mantle, have temperatures just as hot as the surface of Venus. They are also home to countless previously thought impossible creatures, showing humans, especially the skeptics, that anything is possible.
What in the world is that? A woolly rhino. Well preserved, absolutely. You could tell when something is frozen. You could look at it and be like, wow, that's well preserved. Ice Age remains are being some of the best ever found. True. 20 to 50,000 years old. Wow. See, and seeing stuff like this is gonna make them continue leaning towards cryostation. Watch, it's gonna happen, bro. Where that's gonna become a thing, a huge thing, just because they keep finding these animals like well preserved as they are. It's gonna keep supporting facts for them to get that cryostation going. Watch. Frozen almost instantly allow for the incredible preservation of the rhino's fur and internal organs. See? Offering a clear picture of the animal's appearance and how it lived. The whole preservation of organs. Thick hazel colored fur, swollen teeth, intestines, even lumps of fat. Yeah, that last little part right there, man. I'm telling y'all, bro. if it's not already a huge focus right now. I know we've talked about it before briefly, but it's not like a thing that I think has their complete focus right now. But I think at some point it is. It's going to gain their complete and entire focus, and CryoStation is going to become a big, big industry. Huge industry. You know how people are getting into like the funeral home business a lot more than it used to be? Used to be you knew one or two people from your town that were the funeral directors and stuff like that. You knew them by name. Now they're popping up everywhere because that business has grown. And it's something I guess you could almost kind of call recession proof, because death is going to always occur. So I'm telling you, man, CryoStation is going to be one of those things as well that starts happening. It's going to be a huge industry. Listen, man, I'm still geeked about the once two-headed giant 11-footer that was roaming the earth, possibly. Y'all get at me in the comment section, man, and let me know what you thought about this video and the information that you received. Till next one, I'm gone. Peace.